Welcome to Ageless Fury. Randall Cox here. Hey, today, we're going to talk about some health changes that, that I made in my life at age 60 that I wish I would have done at age 20. Again, this is going to be in relation to, weight loss, nutrition, and those exercise goals. Hey, if this is your first time here, start by subscribing now. Let's get those notifications turned on so that you don't miss anything. Now, one thing about the aging process is we want to start making the right choices in our 20s, our 30s, and our 40s. But, realistically, look, it's never too late to start taking better care of your body so that when we hit our 90s, we are healthy and able to function in a positive direction. So the things that, that truly age us is what's going on in our lives. The point of Ageless Fury is, we're going to look at those issues. What's making us overweight? What's causing us to make poor food choices, right? So, we want to get our nutrition on par to hit our goals. Now, maybe there's a stressful situation or you're dealing with anxiety, and maybe that's causing you to turn to food as a stress release. And, what happens is you end up eating the wrong foods and too many calories. Now, as people start to gain weight, they may feel that, they're losing control, okay? And so they continue down that wrong path as those poor food choices, they give us temporary relief from those issues. But those issues, they don't go away. So if you're not able to deal with those issues in your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s, by the time that, that we hit 60, hey, we're a mess. I read about people dying in their 40s from type 2 diabetes, right? This is very concerning as these are young people. They're dying with, 40 years of living, left in their bank due to a controllable disease. Now, turning age 60, really wasn't that big of a deal to me because I felt good and I'm doing things in my life like being consistent, with healthy eating and exercise, and that's going to continue to benefit me as I age. Now, have a look at me at age 50. Now, compare that to age 60, right? So clearly, I have made some positive changes. Now, my point here is I don't feel I possess anything that the next person doesn't have, but I did have to, overcome some mental blocks to get where I am now. And I feel that you can too. Now, a disclaimer here is I do look at life a little bit differently than I did a few years ago after being diagnosed with stage 3 cancer at age 52. My doctors gave me a 50-50 shot between life and death. Look, you want to talk about a game changer, and my whole attitude was if I come out of this a winner, I am going to make some positive changes in my life. And going through that experience, it did make me realize, how short life really can be. When I start reading all these, these motivational sayings, you really do start to understand what they really mean. Something like, live today because you don't know what tomorrow will bring. Or, you live life to the fullest, because it only happens once. Okay, so these type things, they're very real when you're staring down the gun barrel of life due to health issues, especially health issues due to poor eating choices. So now that all that's behind me, I focus on staying healthy as I age, and I kind of compare my 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s to, my 20s, my 30s, my 40s, and my 50s. Now, it's unfortunate it took me 40 years to learn what I know today, but hey, life is about learning, making changes to figure out, okay, what's going to work best for me. And trust me, I made a lot of mistakes over the last 40 years, but I'd like to think that I did more things right than I did wrong. Now, I've never been on a diet in my life in terms of cutting calories to lose weight. I did have to make changes to my eating habits, but by simply cutting out those unhealthy foods and replacing them with more healthy foods, those pounds came off naturally, okay? Not by restricting, okay, but by eating healthy. Now, even during times of being overweight, I was still exercising on a regular basis, pretty much the same as I am today. But clearly, the exercise alone wasn't going to get me where I needed to be unless I changed my eating habits. And I never looked for a quick fix, okay? I knew what I needed to do, but more importantly, I needed to do that consistently. So, where would I start if I could be 20 again? Food, of course. We go back to 1980 and the advances in food science has been huge, okay? We have, more knowledge than we ever have before, but our obesity rates are going through the roof. Since 1980, obesity has gone from 13% to 34% in the United States. Now, the unhealthy lifestyle has caused, healthcare costs to skyrocket. The amount of processed food and sugar and fast food being consumed, has become a normal eating pattern for too many people. Now, one switch I made was, I moved from an animal-based to a plant-based protein. We are starting to see the effects of, animal-based proteins on our bodies. There's obviously an impact on the planet with factory farming, and, there's a chance we could face a food shortage, at some point in the future. And more science is coming out to support plant-based protein over animal-based protein, making us healthier, right? There's plenty of data to support animal-based proteins causing health conditions like, heart disease, damage to our arteries, stroke, and some cancers, to name a few. Now, of course, there's data out there that supports the consumption of animal proteins as well. So, you need to decide what's going to work best for you. Now, for me personally, I switched to about a 50-50, animal to plant-based about a year ago. A few months after that, I switched to, now, 75% of the proteins that I eat all come from plant-based sources. Now, I've definitely noticed a difference in my energy levels and my mobility. I initially switched to a plant-based, due to all the positive information that I was reading about in terms of reducing inflammation in my joints. My joints were so stiff on occasion, it was difficult for me to walk for extended periods. Plant-based eating has changed that. I've just about cut out all dairy except, the yogurt that goes into my smoothie every day. And, I could probably live without that too, but I do like the, the creamy texture that it gives the smoothie. Plus, yogurt is, it's packed with probiotics, which is great for our digestive systems. Otherwise, too much bad bacteria can build up, and cause, some damage to that immune system. I also switched gears on eating eggs. I used to consume 6 to 7 egg whites per day, but I did a little bit of research and found that, okay, there's a high amount of omega-6, and the potential to cause inflammation in the joints. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to make some changes here as well. So I stopped eating egg whites. I switched to the egg yolks, for the higher omega-3. Now my egg yolk consumption is only about, probably 6 a week. So, it's pretty minimal. For years, egg yolks were always getting the bad rap, right? And the egg whites are always portrayed as the best part of the egg. Now there's a large amount of data out there on eggs. So, I feel that you should do your own research, but I do feel, better joint mobility. So again, you need to decide what's going to work best for you. Now there are definite, health benefits to, animal-based proteins as well. So by no means do I want to, rant about, how bad they are for us. But, in weighing the pros and cons, I feel that the plant-based gives me more positives, over those animal-based proteins. Now, another change I made was, in terms of intermittent fasting. Again, there was good science behind it, so I thought, all right, I'm going to give this a try. So now I've gone from where I have a 12-hour eating window and a 12-hour fasting window. Now, in my life, I don't look at it as fasting, but it's simply the way that I eat, okay? I don't have food cravings, or ever feel hungry. I know what the correct number of calories are that I need to consume on a daily basis. It's going to, help fuel my exercise and help me maintain that healthy weight. Now, it does take time to, to adjust to fasting, and developing, those feelings of, not being hungry without food cravings. And, again, you got to learn how many calories that your body needs to, stay healthy. And trust me, you can eat high quality foods that will fill you up. They're going to give you, plenty of fuel to manage your daily activities and not gain weight. Now, the things I talk about on Ageless Fury, these are tried and tested theories through research that has worked for me. I'm not a doctor. I don't have a degree in nutrition, but everything I talk about came from the research that I did in analyzing the data that's going to fit my needs. Now, some people are going to discredit what I say, but others are going to support it. Now, when we start talking about science, what we're really talking about is someone's interpretation of that science. I mean, you ask a group of 10 scientists to comment on a subject, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get 10 different interpretations of that science. The same holds true for the science behind the foods that we eat. Now, my most recent personal journey was, more of a vision than a goal, right? Now, I feel that goals are kind of those steps along the way toward a vision, that we're, trying to achieve. Look, I love to challenge myself to achieve, something that I've never done before, and in my mind, I see absolutely no reason that I can't achieve that vision. Now, given I'm in good health, the only thing standing in my way is me. Now, I look at fitness as grades A through F. Okay, A is where you start from. F is the finish line in terms of, hey, you've achieved that top rung in terms of fitness. Now, I believe there are a good amount of people out there at a grade F, but there are a lot higher number of people at a grade A. So a few months ago, I'm at what I felt was a grade D, and I wanted to move on to a grade E. Hey, this is just like anybody else wanting to move from an A to a B in terms of their weight loss and exercise. I knew this was going to take a higher level of commitment. I needed to take, my eating pattern to the next level, along with my training, right? My exercise. So, this was a very mental process, is on days, man, I really had to push myself in the gym, to get where I needed to. And looking back, man, it was a great ride, but now I have to maintain that at some point if I want to get to a grade F. So yes, if I could go back to age 20 again, I would do things differently, but in reality, what matters is what I do today moving forward. Ideally, you want to start in your 20s, but as long as you start now, it really doesn't matter your age. I keep going back to being consistent, okay? If you can make small changes, right, that are going to lead to a more healthy lifestyle, then that's a great start. Hey, please leave your comments as I work with people on their quest for better health. If you're looking for more programs, help you out with that, that weight loss, that nutrition, or those exercise goals, please follow me on YouTube and Instagram. Thank you.